You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Okay, we're back. Brett McAbee, who is Chief Financial Officer for the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority, is one of our guests. Also with us, Jim Fleckner, who is Engineering Manager and oversees the projects that the authority is undertaking. Before I get back to some of these projects, I did want to ask you, as far as rate goes, where do we stand with other cities as far as rate goes for water and sewer of comparable size?
Among the 10 largest systems in North Carolina, that's systems over 50,000 customers, which we are.
We're one of the 10 largest in North Carolina.
We have about 65,000 customers. So when you compare our rates to a Charlotte, a Fayetteville, a Raleigh, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, we have the third lowest rate among those 10 large producers. Raleigh.
So we're in the low end of the.
We're low end
of the spectrum.
Also, statewide, we're in the lower 20 to 30% of rates.
Getting back to the projects that we were chatting about before we took a break, $600 million is as a projection I heard that the authority wants or needs to spend in upgrades. Is that an accurate?
Yeah, that's a 10-year number.
10-year figure.
We've broken it down into smaller chunks, obviously. We have some real exciting projects. We have a new and innovative project where we can take treated water that we can produce during non-peak times and store it underground. So we can store up to 300 million gallons of treated water underground.
That's a future project
It's ready to go to bid. It's actually getting federal stimulus money.
It's getting ready to begin?
Yes.
Okay.
Ready to go to construction.
What do you store it in tanks?
Underground in the aquifers. So we'll take treated water
and
store it underground.
And it stays?
It stays in like a big bubble underground.
It stays in a pristine condition for use?
And then we'll pull it up later during.
So you don't have to put it back in the Cape Fear River, you treat it and put it underground?
Right. Now this is treated drinking water.
Right. That
we'll then take out of the ground later and then distribute to the users during peak times. So
what's the cost of that?
It's about $4 million project. We're getting $3 million in federal stimulus money for it.
Another big project that I want to touch on before we run out of time is the major utility update for the Central Business District. There's two blocks of Front Street between Market and Chestnut that are going to be totally redone. It's going to be closed as far as traffic goes. The businesses will be open. There'll be business as usual. But tell us about how that came about and what you're planning there.
It's a joint project between the authority and the city. And while we're in there replacing water and sewer pipes, as the street gets rebuilt, the city will be replacing the streetscape elements. So it'll be one unified project that will go and replace all of the utilities that need to be replaced. 2 blocks.
Market to
Chestnut.
To Princess to Chestnut.
Yes.
The street's going to be closed. How long?
It'll be a few months, but we'll do it in phases, so it's not all closed at once, and we'll make sure it stays open to pedestrians.
Why now? Is it just time? How old are these pipes that are?
Some of these pipes are 100 years old, so it's time for us to get in and do our work, and it makes sense for us to coordinate with the city so that they can do their work at the same time and only have to disrupt the community and the business owners one time.
What's the price tag?
It's about a $1 million project for us, about $2 million total.
Is that part of that $600 million?
That's part of it. That's part of it, and we have a lot of other projects as well. We're getting ready to design upgrades to the south side wastewater treatment plant, which is down on River Road.
One of the stories that caught my attention was the major problems with there's an old 1948 pipeline under the Cape Fear River that carries much of the area's water supply, and it was reported that it's in urgent need of repair. This is a major pipe for the city. Is that accurate?
That's correct. It's a large supplier of our raw water that comes from the river to the plant.
How urgent is that?
Well, it was urgent. I'm pleased to report that we fixed that crossing. We went ahead and replaced the pipe last spring.
The pipe's been totally replaced.
It was. We drilled a hole underneath the river, about 60 feet below the river bed, and pulled a half-mile pipe through the hole and connected it on either side. So it was a very interesting project and a very important project to get done in
How much?
time.
How much
It was
money?
a $5 million project.
How was that paid for?
through the bond money.
Through bond
Or
money? Now,
CIP.
how are we paying this bond money back? Is it totally through rate structure?
It's totally through rate structure. We have no other revenue source but the water and sewer sales. So it is being retired by the payment of water and sewer service charges.
Can you give us a ballpark of how much higher the average consumer's water and sewer rates are? I know it's different for county to city, but is there any way you can give
Well, our
us
overall rate increase our first year was a 9% overall, but it impacted customers very differently.
in different ways? Depending if you lived in the county or the city?
Particularly in the county area where you had high volume water users that got into the third tier, particularly with irrigation, their bills went up dramatically.
Did you get a lot of feedback?
We've got some feedback on the billing. It's necessary. I have one quick.
But still with that, excuse me for interrupting, but still with that increase, we're still in the lower tier of cost for consumers in the state, is that right?
In the state, and I would point out in southeastern North Carolina, probably 50% lower than across the river, up in Jacksonville, Oslo County. We're considerably lower than the rates charged there.
In our own region?
In our own region.
We're almost out of time. It was just announced last week that the authority is getting ready to enter into a joint project with Pender County on 421. Can you briefly, like in 30 seconds, give us the
Very quickly, up
start
on
on that?
421 in the northwest part of the county, we don't have water or sewer services. This will be a joint project with Pender County to design a wastewater treatment plant that will make development available in that area.
And when are you targeting?
We have about 2 years of design, and after that will come construction.
You're involved in the design, being the engineer.
Yes.
Yeah,
the design and
that's
permitting.
exciting.
It is very exciting. A lot
And
of fun.
that will be for Pender County and New Hanover County?
It's a shared project, and that whole corridor up along 421 would be served by this plant.
And how are they served now?
They're not served.
They're-
They don't have. They have some of the businesses have their own
Their wells?
on-site treatment plants for
Oh,
wastewater.
really?
Invista and others treat their own industrial waste and discharge to the river.
Are you, of course, you're going to retire in December. When will the next rate decision be made on?
Normally it would be in the spring leading into the budget, so I expect there will be some decisions made early in the next year.
We're out of time. Brent Maccabee, Chief Financial Officer, Cape Fear Public Utility Authority. Jim Fleckner, Engineering Manager. Thank you both for joining us. Join us online for any of the inventory we have, WILM-TV.com. Click on Byline Wilmington, and we'll see you next week. I'm Don Ansell.
You've been watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Join us every Sunday morning at 11 as we explore the issues that concern you.